It is 11 o'clock in the morning on an ordinary Tuesday, and you are sitting in the waiting room of an exclusive private bank. The floor is polished gray marble, so smooth you can almost see your reflection in it. Next to you sits a man wearing a gray t-shirt that has been washed one too many times, jeans worn thin at the knees, and sneakers that lost their original color years ago. Nobody pays him any attention. The receptionist glances at him sideways, almost as if he had wandered into the wrong building by mistake. But when his name is finally called, he stands up slowly and walks toward the wealth manager's office. That man in the faded t-shirt has $14 million in assets managed by that exact bank. Now, picture a completely different scene. It is Saturday night, and you are standing in the parking lot of an expensive, trendy restaurant. A loud sports car roars in, deliberately taking up 2 spaces because the driver refuses to let anyone scratch the paint. 2 people step out, dressed head to toe in flashy designer labels, and everyone turns to look. People whisper and admire them, assuming that couple just spent more on their car and their outfits than most people manage to save in 5 years. But what almost nobody asks in that moment is how much money they actually owe, how much crippling credit card debt they are hiding, or how many months behind they are on that exact car payment. We live in a modern culture that completely confuses spending money with actually having it. We confuse the visual appearance of success with actually possessing real wealth. And that harmless-looking confusion is one of the main reasons so many people work their entire lives only to end up with absolutely nothing to show for it. Meanwhile, other people quietly build massive fortunes that even their closest neighbors never suspect exist. Historically, showing off your wealth actually made logical sense. In ancient societies, having a gold ring, a massive house, or a fine horse were completely reliable signals of capability and status. People could not fake those things, so if you looked rich, you almost certainly were, because producing those visual symbols required real labor and real resources. But the world completely changed, and those visual signals stopped being reliable a long time ago. Today, buying the fake appearance of wealth is easier than it has ever been in human history. You can easily get a 7-year car loan, obtain credit cards that hand you massive limits even on a totally average salary, or simply rent a luxury watch or a designer handbag just for a weekend. Because of this, the gap between looking rich and actually being rich has never been wider. This has trapped us in a modern social theater. Everyone is constantly performing for an audience that, in reality, does not have nearly as much money as it appears to have either. It is a closed, toxic loop of people trying to impress each other with money they do not actually have, entirely financed by hidden debt. A massive study done by economist Thomas Stanley, who wrote the famous book The Millionaire Next Door, found a truth that shocked most people. He discovered that the vast majority of actual millionaires in the United States do not live in giant mansions or drive exotic luxury cars. Instead, they live in perfectly normal, middle-class houses in completely ordinary neighborhoods, and they drive cars that are several years old, often bought completely secondhand. Meanwhile, many of the people who actually did live in the massive mansions and drove the brand-new cars had surprisingly low net worths, and sometimes their net worth was completely negative once you subtracted all of their hidden debt. So why do the people with the most money intentionally try to look broke? It is not because they are cheap. It is because invisibility is a powerful psychological strategy used to protect and grow money. Think of looking poor, or at least looking perfectly average, as an invisible layer of financial security. When the clothes you wear, the car you drive, and the house you live in do not reveal how much money is sitting in your bank account, you instantly become a much less attractive target for the outside world. When people sense you have money, their behavior toward you completely shifts, and it is almost never in a way that benefits you. If you project visible wealth, aggressive salespeople instantly treat you differently. They will push the absolute most expensive model, the premium package, and the extended warranty because they immediately assume you can afford it and will not question the high price tag. Worse than that, friends and extended family members often start to view you as a potential source of financial help without even meaning to. It starts as a small loan here, a quiet expectation that you will cover the dinner check there, simply because they assume you are sitting on extra cash and things are clearly going well for you. In more serious situations, displaying visible wealth makes you a massive target for lawsuits. Lawyers who work on contingency do not just look at who is legally right in a dispute. They look at who can actually pay the settlement. A flashy, highly visible luxury lifestyle makes you look like wealth that is worth chasing in court. There is a famous rule among private wealth advisors that perfectly sums this up. Money you can see gets asked for, envied, or sued. But money you cannot see just quietly keeps growing. To really understand how this destroys your future, let's look at the psychology of why we do this in the first place. Imagine two people, person A and person B, who are exactly the same age and earn the exact same salary of $90,000 a year. Person A decides they want the whole world to know they are winning at life. They buy a brand new car with a $650 monthly payment, move into a trendy apartment that costs $400 more than they actually need to spend, and constantly buy designer clothes. They eat at expensive restaurants purely so their social media looks like an attractive, wealthy life. By the time the month ends, between the luxury car, the expensive rent, and the nights out, there is basically nothing left over. Person B earns that same $90,000, but chooses a completely different path. They drive a 6-year-old car that is already entirely paid off. They live in a modest, safe apartment that costs far less than they could afford, and they wear simple, comfortable clothes without giant logos. Nobody who walks past them on the street would ever guess they make $90,000. Every single month, before they even have a chance to think about it, a massive chunk of their paycheck is automatically routed directly into investment accounts before it ever gets the chance to become a careless purchase. Fast forward 10 years. The difference between these two people is not just a few $1,000s. It is a massive gap of hundreds of thousands of dollars, entirely thanks to the magic of compound interest on all the money person B chose not to waste on looking rich. But here is the ultimate psychological trap. From the outside looking in, during those entire 10 years, person A looked like the massive success story. Person B simply looked average, like someone with no ambition who wasn't living their best life. But their actual financial realities were the exact opposite. Every single dollar you spend attempting to look successful is a dollar that can never again work to actually make you successful. The reason this is so hard to overcome is because spending money triggers an immediate, powerful social reward. When someone compliments your new car or admires your new house, your brain gets a massive, instant hit of dopamine and validation. The problem is that feeling vanishes in a few hours, leaving you needing to buy something else just to feel it again. Investing your money offers absolutely zero instant social reward. Nobody is going to stop you on the sidewalk and clap for you because you quietly transferred $500 into a boring S&P 500 index fund this month. There is no photo you can post online to get likes, and no instant hit of admiration. The human brain naturally hates this because it fiercely prefers immediate gratification over delayed rewards. The people who actually build generational wealth are simply the ones who learn to tolerate the temporary discomfort of not getting an immediate round of applause. So, what should you actually do with this information? What is the practical takeaway to fix this in your own life? First, before you make any significant purchase, you have to ask yourself a brutally honest question. Are you buying this thing for yourself, or are you buying it for someone else's eyes? Buying a reliable car because it gives you mechanical peace of mind is a highly rational choice. Upgrading to a luxury car just because it will make the neighbors jealous is an emotional decision that is simply wearing the costume of a need. A powerful trick to stop this is to start measuring the price of things in hours of your own life, rather than in dollars. If you make $20 an hour, an $80 pair of shoes isn't just a piece of paper. It represents nearly a full, exhausting shift on your feet just to pay for it. Once you measure your careless spending in the actual hours of human labor it costs you, throwing money away to impress strangers suddenly feels a lot more real and a lot harder to do. Second, you must change the order of how your money flows. Most broke people spend their paycheck first and blindly hope they have some money left over to save or invest at the end of the month, which is usually nothing. Wealthy people invest first, the absolute second their income hits their bank account, and then they force themselves to build their lifestyle only around whatever happens to be left over. Making this automatic is the single most important financial habit you can ever develop. Finally, you must stop measuring your financial progress against the fake lives you see on social media. Almost everything you see online is a highly edited, totally fake version of reality that is financed by massive credit card debt, or literally rented by the hour just to take a photo. The only benchmark you should ever compare yourself to is where you personally were 1 year ago. Let's go back to the man in the faded t-shirt at the private bank. He didn't start out with $14 million. He started with a very modest salary and a regular job, but he made a clear decision early on that his life would never include going into debt to impress other people. For over 20 years, he drove used cars he bought with cash. He lived in a modest home, even long after his net worth crossed the $1 million mark. When his coworkers financed massive new homes and leased brand new cars, he stayed exactly where he was, comfortable but never flashy. The outside world thought he was perfectly average, but behind the scenes, his net worth was compounding exponentially, completely invisible to everyone around him. That man could walk out of the bank today and easily buy the most expensive sports car on the lot. He could buy the biggest mansion in the city. He has more than enough money to do it 10 times over without even making a dent in his net worth. He chooses not to because he figured out a profound truth a long time ago. Real freedom is not being able to buy expensive things to show off. Real freedom is not needing anyone to know that you can. Looking rich is a constant, exhausting performance that drains your bank account, demands endless upkeep, and leaves you trapped in a cycle of debt. Being financially free is completely quiet. It doesn't need an audience, it doesn't beg for outside validation, and it simply exists, protecting you in the background while you sleep. So the next time someone gives you a weird look because your car is a few years old or your clothes don't have a giant designer logo plastered across them, just smile. Because invisibility is not a weakness. It is the absolute most reliable sign that you are actually building something real.